Welcome to the B2B Legend Show by Oneflow. I'm Josephine, your host, and on this show we dive into the stories behind some of the legends in the B2B world. Each episode we chat with industry leaders to explore their journeys, challenges and insights. Today we're joined by Gabrielle Bäckman, Head of Partnerships at Teamtailor. In this episode, Gabrielle shares a walkthrough of her career and how she ended up in partnerships, key strategies for building high-impact customer-focused partner programs, and leadership lessons from scaling global teams and how she leads with empathy, clarity, and a coaching mindset. Hello everyone and welcome back to a new episode of the B2B Legends Show, and a big welcome to today's guest, Gabrielle Bäckman.
Thank you so much. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, really happy to have you here as well, and really looking forward to get to know you and also dive into your career journey. But before we do that, it would be good if you can start up with a quick introduction of who you are and what you're working with at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my name is Gabrielle. I work as the head of partnerships at Teamtailor currently, and I live with my family in Båstad. Been in B2B partnerships for about 6-7 years, and been in the tech industry for a bit longer than that.
Perfect. And now let's dive into your career journey. So it would be good if you can kind of walk us through from where you started and how you ended up to where you are today, basically.
Absolutely. And I think, I don't know how early to start, but I think the background matters, right? I've done a lot of different jobs in my early career. So I've gone from like waiter to nanny to I've worked as a flight attendant, I've done marketing, I've done PR, so I've done a million different things. And then I think I landed a little bit in sales. So I started my commercial kind of career or more adult jobs within sales and did really well within that. And then I moved to Malmö and I really wanted to work in Copenhagen and found a really interesting product that I really liked. And they were searching for a partnerships manager, which I didn't know what it was or sounded similar to sales, but a little bit different. So I jumped on that and really fell in love with the craft and the company and stayed there for quite some time and had a good career there, and then been really kind of nerding in and focusing in on that partnership side of things. And I think it's the kind of perfect marriage of all commercial and the strategic function internally, and you get to do a lot of different things, which really suits my personality. I get very motivated, and I think it's very fun when you do a lot of different things. So that's a little bit about kind of how I slip into or how I ended up in partnerships.
Yeah, and was that kind of the original path that you were thinking, partnership, or was it something earlier that you were like, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, very early days, I was set to be a psychologist, but then I learned I'm very empathetic as a person, and I felt that it would probably be heavy to kind of carry everyone else's problems around. And then I was really set, and I studied as well marketing and business. I was very, very set on working in marketing and PR. And I did an internship, my first kind of marketing related internship in PR. And I found that it was mostly research, which was really surprising. I thought you would be out speaking to clients and socializing and presenting and doing a lot of customer facing work, which in my experience, at least where I was not the case. And I think naturally in that internship, I kind of shifted a little bit more towards the sales team. There was a department who was working on getting new projects on board and getting new clients to kind of utilize the services. So I asked, can I sit with them for the day, and can I do some cold calling? Can I, speak to some people? And I think naturally from there kind of progressed naturally into sales, but it was never my career choice or like aspiration from the beginning. So I think it's kind of been very progressive, and partnership very accidental from the sales track I was on.
Yeah, I feel like that is a lot of people I've talked to is like they kind of start off in sales, like slip into sales, and then they kind of stay there or go to partnership, like those it's never like I want to work in sales or I want to work in partnerships. It's more like you kind of get into that route accidentally, just as you did.
Yeah, and I think like a sales job has like a bad rep, or not a lot of people, or not at least myself growing up, figured that you could have a career in sales. I think if you asked me 20 years ago what I thought about sales, this was the phone salesmen who were trying to sell and sell you some phone plan. But that there are multiple ways and a really good career path to be built within the sales function, which I think is growing more and more, becoming more and more known. But when I was growing up, it wasn't really a thing.
No. Yeah, 100%. And what is something, like as you were progressing in your career, what is something that you had to learn or maybe unlearn to grow in your career?
It's a really good question. I had a lot of reflection kind of around this as I'm like, progressing my career and learning new things, and what do I want to grow in, what do I want to do. And I think something that I have learned within any kind of job that you have or any career path you want to take is, I think, something that's pretty underrated is the ability to stay consistent. So to do something consistently over time and to stay very executional, even though you're working in a very strategic, higher level type of leadership role, I think maintaining consistently and maintaining execution has been, I think, one of the biggest kind of most important learnings, and probably one of the biggest success factors that I've had in my own career. Learning that that is a really like hard skill and very good skill to maintain, and something that I think I learned quite early on.
And how was it, like, how did you learn that? Was it like a specific moment where you're like, okay, I need to get better in this, or is that something that just came natural to you as well?
I think I've grown up in a family where hard work, like you need to work hard. If you work hard and put your mind to it, you will get somewhere. So I think that has been something that is instilled within my family. But I think it really kind of came to me in a very real way when I started working in sales, because in the beginning I didn't have the skills. But I figured very early on that if I stay extremely consistent and executional and actually keep the activity levels high, I can still be on top of the pile until I learn the skills. And I think a lot of times what happens in sales is that, or in partnerships as well, when we get really good at something and you can work more strategically, we kind of drop on a little bit on the consistency and the execution side. And I think if you're able to maintain the both, then you really kind of unleash your full potential. So I think it's something that's been with me, but really kind of came into light as I had my first sales job.
Okay. Yeah. And what have you found most valuable when it comes to growing professionally?
I think for me, growing professionally has been like all about the people around me. So I think I have had the fortune, and I've also been seeking out a lot of mentors, and I've had a couple of really influential mentors and people throughout my career who's been really kind of, seeing the potential in myself when I haven't maybe been able to see that myself, and really pushing me to do more than what I think is possible, and being like great sounding boards. And I think it is quite difficult. Like it has been very difficult. I, grew most of my career after having becoming a mom. So I've had to do it with juggling small kids and being also a young woman in leadership in tech. Like there's not that many of us. So I think it's been super, super influential for me and super comforting to have like a really strong network around me who can really push me to, be better and to develop and really kind of be that, that sounding board that we all need. Because I don't have all the answers, even though I'm sometimes expected or people think I have all the answers, right? And having people that you can be vulnerable with and grow together with, and also extend that to other people, I think have been the most valuable thing for me as I've grown my career.
Yeah. And what's what's one advice that you have gotten from like your mentor group that you still live by, or what say?
Oh, very, very good question. I think so. I have struggled a lot with imposter syndrome throughout my career. And I think I had a mentor that told me once that no one knows what they're doing, Gabs. Like you're not the only one who thinks that you don't know what you're doing, and maybe what you're doing is not good enough. Everyone feels like that. And I think that that's really, really helped me to think that I'm probably not the only one doing this for the first time. I'm probably not the only one feeling uncertain about different areas that I'm facing for the first time. And I think that, feeling comfortable in that and being able to also talk with my peers about that has been probably a really good advice, and something that's really helped me to become better at my job as well, and to really seek help and bounce ideas with other people internally that have a different perspective than maybe I'm lacking. So instead of walking around thinking I have to know all the answers, to really kind of be vulnerable in not knowing everything.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome is I mean, I feel it too. I'm new, like in marketing. I've been working for 2 years, but it's I get also why people get kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing sometimes, but just like, it's just try your best and like take help from people around you, and I think you're off on a good start.
100%.
Yeah. I want to move a bit more into partnership and growth. So, and you've been working in a lot of different partnership functions at different companies. So what do you think makes a good or great partnership function in a B2B company?
I think that kind of the core foundation of building a partnership function is to make sure you have strategic alignment around the company, right? So partnership is an overlay function, and it collaborates with every single part of the business. So whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, whether it's product, whether it's finance, so making sure that there is strategic alignment and that you work with partnerships as a strategy, not as a function, I think is the first thing. I also think that, and this is something that I think I'm learning more and more, I've seen partnership organizations in a lot of different shapes and companies and stages, and I think that partnership works really well when there is a good go-to-market motion in place. So I think considering partnership is like the overlay function of a well-functioning go-to-market. If you have a go-to-market that's really struggling, what I'm seeing, or what I've seen from my teams at least, are that then partnerships also struggle, right? So I think making sure that you don't invest in partnerships too early on. So making sure you have proved a go-to-market, you have an understanding of what type of product fit you have in the market, and then investing into partnership to kind of oil or overlay that functioning motion already. And I also think that, I think when I started in partnerships, it was still kind of like this new kid on the block. It was a new function. A lot of people were talking about it. No one really knew what it was about. And I still think that, you know, even though it's become way more established and a lot of people are doing partnerships, it's still quite a young function, at least in the B2B SaaS world. So I think that getting nerdy and understanding the methodology and working with the methodology is also extremely important. Like, I think I went to a session or an event last time, and there was some statistics shared that 80% of partnerships fail, and that's a pretty gloom and expensive statistic. So I think we have to be, as leaders within the space, really understanding the craft and making sure we like break it down. How do we build predictability into something that is unpredictable? How do we work with partners consistently over time? How do we create the best partner experience? So I think even though it's very partner by partner, we have to lean on building like a really solid methodology around it, and not just winging it and kind of, you know, hoping that we will luck out. So I think that's also really, really important for making like a great partnership function. You have to get nerdy, and you have to really understand the methodology that is suitable for your specific use case.
Yeah, 100% makes sense. And do you have any like key principles that you follow to, or when trying to drive growth through partnership? Like, what do you do specifically to help with that?
Yeah, so I think we work a lot with making sure that it is, first of all, that there is like a real partnership there. And when I say a real partnership, is making sure that it creates customer value. So I think there are too many companies that partner to partner, and, you know, two partnership managers are sitting together, and you don't really look at why is this creating value on the customer side. And in partnerships, you often talk about the joint value proposition. So like, what is the actual value created on the customer side? And if that's not obvious, then I would not use that as a foundation for building a partnership. So I think that's really important. And then I think it's also very important to consider building partnerships that's going to generate results on both sides. Being super transparent and curious in understanding what does success look like for your partner, making sure you can either manage expectations or build a partnership that will support that. I think is two things that are extremely important. And I think as well, something that has kind of been trending within the industry is to make sure you focus your time on the right ones. I think we come from like a background of collecting as many partners as you potentially like as you can, to being more selective or really, really focusing in on the ones where you do have value from each other. And that's fewer partnerships, but you have to go a bit deeper and really, you can really create that curated experience for them. So I think those are some kind of pillars that we stick to within our partner program as we're trying to build success through them.
Yeah, really good key principles or as you mentioned them. And as a partnership team, as you mentioned, also is working with a lot of other functions within a company. So what have you kind of found helpful when it comes to aligning partnership with other functions such as sales or marketing? Like how do you make the collaboration between functions good?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting topic. It's something I think if you ask or most partnership leaders that I know, this is kind of the biggest challenge for everybody. And people ask me like, now how do you feel not working in partnership or customer facing roles? You've stopped doing sales. I'm like, I'm doing more sales than ever. I'm just doing it internally. So I think that's the most important skill, and that's the most important thing you have to consider when you are working with internal facing teams is I have to sell to them. I have to understand what makes them look good at work. What do they care about? What do they prioritize? And I need to understand how we can provide value and how to gain that strategic alignment, right, together with these internal functions. So I think it's very important that you as a leader and anyone in your team working with the regional teams are considering internal interactions, not only external interactions with partners, but really selling the value and understanding how that creates value for them, not how that creates value for me, but for them. So almost doing discovery internally, right? It's very, very similar to a sales process and stakeholder management, working with internal teams as it is working with external teams. So I think that's the most important skill. If you keep talking about partnerships from a partnership perspective with other teams, you're never going to get them to prioritize and strategically align the way that you would like them to.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Talk the other functions language.
Exactly. Understand what makes them tick.
Exactly. Yeah. Nice. And also moving more into you as a leader and leadership roles that you've had. So you created, led, and scaled teams across many companies. So how would you describe your leadership style, and how has it also evolved from your first leadership role to where you are now?
Yes. And I think it's a very hard question to kind of describe my leadership style, but I will give it a go. I think my core strengths kind of as a leader is I have a very holistic perspective. I'm quite good at seeing the full picture and being able to kind of steer a ship and create a vision and get people excited about that vision. I think from like a team perspective, when I work with my partnership managers, I think I started out some of the things that I've had to work on throughout my leadership career has definitely been delegation. That's been one of kind of my weaker areas. And I think at the beginning, I had a hard time delegating and understanding when I need to let things go and empower the reps to execute on something. And I'm also quite empathic as a person. So I think when I first started leadership, I thought it was quite heavy to carry. So I've also had to really, really work on separating the feelings and the struggles that my reps are experiencing from my own feelings, which I think that I've gotten quite far in that work today. But today I work with I think I work quite transformational. I'm quite good at leading transformation, very coaching oriented. So kind of focusing in on individual reps and making sure that they get the individual coaching and attention that they need. And I think it's also, I've maybe been trained that way or formed that way because I've had teams with very, very different spans of seniority. So I've had teams where you've had extremely senior people that have been in the company for a very long time and very junior reps that are doing partnerships for the very first time. So it has been quite difficult to kind of lead them as a group more than kind of the holistic team level, but getting to like the nitty gritty and developing them as people and making sure that they develop their careers have been almost needed to do on an individual basis. So I do spend a lot of time with them one-on-one, and I truly also enjoy spending time with people one-on-one and seeing them grow and coaching and feedbacking and making sure that they have all that they need to succeed.
Very nice. And also, as you mentioned, you have some also kind of tough times in your developing in your leadership role. So what have been some of the challenges that you have faced, and how did you work through them?
Yeah, I think again, walking through them, like I've been super lucky when I took my first leadership job, I had an amazing leader myself, which is still a very kind of like close friend and dear mentor of mine. So I think I had a really good support system during my first leadership journey. So, taking tough decisions, having difficult conversations, executing on a PIP for the first time, having like really tough situations with reps or whatever it could be, and situations where I found that it was really difficult as a leader to know how to navigate. I feel like I had a really strong support system. But I think, the biggest challenge has really been that empathetic side that I feel like I very easily, at least in the beginning, and something that I have had to work very cautiously with, to make sure that I can separate, myself and how they are feeling and how they are performing and how my ability to support them, basically. Because leadership and psychology sometimes is a fine balance, right? And we need to know when we are leaders and when we need to step away, and what's ours to carry and what our problems are to solve and where we should not step in.
Yeah, I mean, psychology, and I feel like in leadership you also need that knowledge about also psychology, and also how different people think, as you mentioned, how you have like one-on-ones and figure out how you want to work with this person and that person, because everyone's different. So yeah, it really makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I've also always, like, now I have a very global team, so there's also like a very strong culture element to it as well. That communication style and feedback style and working style is very, very different from country to country and region to region. So that's also something new to navigate and to find footing in. Yeah.
And what if if you would give one advice to someone starting off in their first leader role, what would that be?
I think it's very important to like find your own leadership style. So I think it's very difficult to try and replicate. I think it's like when you train a good salesperson, like it's very difficult to say, go sell like this person because they are a top performing rep. And I think it's the same for leadership. Like you need to find your own individual style. You need to find your own strength as a leader, and also identify your weaknesses and how to work with them and how to make friends with them and how to make them kind of coexist with you as a leader, because no one's perfect, right? And we need to work with our full self. I have also focused a lot with we have had a program that I've been a part of, which is focusing a little bit on personal authentic leadership. And I think that there's a lot of value in that, and bringing more of your personal authentic self into work and into a leadership conversation, I think is very beneficial, has been quite beneficial for me leading the teams that I have been. And I think important to start practicing as well, kind of the core principles of leadership, like feedback, expectation setting, delegation, and also involving the team very early on. So I think, the more workload you have, the more team members you have, the more responsibilities you get, really learning how to utilize and lean on the team and how to work as a unit rather than thinking you have to carry it all yourself, I think is a key thing for setting you up for success. Because that backpack just gets heavier and heavier. The more team, or the more the team grows, so to say.
Yeah, awesome. Great advice. Love that. And just looking back at your career so far, what has been your strongest memory? If you can kind of pick that up somewhere in in the back of your head, do you have a memory that like really stuck with you?
A memory that's really stuck with me. I think it's like definitely my first promotion to become a leader. It's something that I was not expecting. I was still quite new into partnerships, and I have had a really tough year. Like I went into a company, it was a new sales type of environment for me. It was a new product. It was a completely new market. I was the second person on that market. We didn't have any integrations. I did a lot of pushing uphill, and it had been like a really tough struggle, but I had stuck at it, like really worked hard and really tried to learn everything I could, reiterate, do do better and kind of building it brick by brick. So I wasn't expecting the promotion to come. So when it came, I was, beyond excited, and I felt like this was super, super exciting for me, and a recognition of all the hard work and all the late nights and all the difficult situations and all the setbacks that we'd had throughout building that market. So I think that's definitely a very memorable moment. And also I think from a leader that I really respected and really looked up to. So I think that made it more impactful to feel like, oh shit, this person that I really look up to, that I really, really value working with, she sees potential in me and wants me to grow in this way. So I think that was really a strong memory.
Nice.
Yeah.
Loved it. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And looking more into the future and what's to come, are there any trends, shifts, or innovation happening now that you are like extra excited about within the partnership space?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of different things that are happening in the space that I am excited about. I think it has developed tremendously just in the few years that I have worked with partnerships. And I think from kind of like the bastard child that was a little bit of a misfit and a little bit undervalued in a lot of different contexts, I think partnership is now really becoming like a recognized function and something that people or companies wants to really invest in and learn from. And I think that's super exciting. And I also think that also pushes the expectation and the development of the craft. So like learning more on how to actually run a successful partnership function, how to navigate partnerships in different verticals. I think that is also super exciting for me as a leader, because partnership is complex by nature, but it's a learning opportunity that just never stops. There's always something new to learn. There's always a new edge case, a new situation that we can pull from. So I think I'm quite excited about that. And I think another trend that I at least feel like I'm quite excited about is kind of like building a really good partner experience. I'm quite passionate about having an experience, like how does it feel being a partner with Teamtailor, and how can we really make that the best in class. So I think it also allows and opens up for a lot of creativity, because partner programs are now becoming common. A lot of people are doing it, so we have to be creative and constantly push the bounds for how we can stand out and how we can create that warm, fuzzy feeling through partnering with us.
Yeah. Oh, nice. A lot to be excited about. Sounds good.
Yeah, that's a really interesting time.
Nice. Yeah, and before we kind of wrap our session up, I like to end it with some quick questions. So whatever comes to mind, just say it. Your first thought. Ready?
Yes, ready.
What's one habit that's helped you succeed?
I think my way of organizing.
Organizing, absolutely.
Yeah, I think organizing, yeah.
And who do you learn from?
I learn a lot from different podcasts and my mentors.
Mentors.
Yeah.
Nice. And lastly, who do you think should be in the next episode?
Oh, difficult. Yeah, I think maybe would be interesting. I have a good network friend, Liz Sheldon. She works as the head of partnership for Pleo, and I think they're doing quite a lot of exciting things. So I think I would love to hear from her. I haven't heard her in a lot of podcasts as well, and she has a lot of good things to say. So yeah, I would love to hear from her.
Awesome. Thanks for the tip.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Well, we've come to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for taking your time to be here and sharing your journey and all knowledge and advice. It has been great listening to you, so thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a good time.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to not miss future episodes. See you in the next one.